Hi everyone, I'm Professor Ryan Moore, and I would like to take a few minutes to tell you about Math 150L, the calculus lab that we're offering in spring 2025. Math 150L is for anybody who would also be currently enrolled in the spring in either Math 150, Math 151, or Math 252. That's Calculus 1, Calculus 2, or Calculus 3 in the spring. If you would like some support with those courses, then consider taking Math 150L. It's a 1-unit lab course that you would take in addition to your calculus course. It runs on Tuesday, Thursday afternoons, and you see the CR in there, 85826. Okay, let's get into it.
So you may be asking, okay, so why might someone take Math 150L in the first place? For those of you going into Math 150 in the spring, it turns out that course, Calculus 1, is a major hurdle for many students, and a lot of people end up having to repeat Calculus 1 in the end. There's a couple reasons for this. A big part of it is algebra. The algebra in calculus can be quite challenging, but also just the calculus concepts themselves. So it turns out I've taken a lot of math courses, and I will tell you, from seeing many math courses over many levels, teaching them, but taking them myself, there's no bigger leap between pre-calculus ideas, the things you do before calculus, and calculus 1. There's a big jump in mathematical sophistication that has to happen there to be successful in calculus 1. Just part of my own journey, and actually why I love teaching calculus, I had to take calculus 1 a total of 3 times myself, and that actually makes me enjoy teaching calculus, it turns out, because I know what a big hurdle it was that I made, and I like to embark on that same journey with students. For those of you going into Math 151 or 252, probably not a surprise that those courses rely on a rock solid foundation of calculus 1 concepts, so you could get that in the lab. In general, assignments in the lab focus on honing your calculus skills. So we talk about prerequisites, of course, but even more, we focus on, okay, let's really dig into the skills in 150, 151, 252, and all that goes with it, right? Which a lot of times is prerequisites. In addition, you'd get focus time with me, your professor, and our embedded tutor in the course. And so you have one-on-one conversations, and you're working with problems that, things that you're being assigned from your actual course, right? Homework and other assignments. And just overall, kind of to summarize this whole thing, you get individualized support in your calculus course. You're probably also asking, all right, what actually happens in the calculus lab? Like, what do assignments look like? And so on. Everything we do in the lab is active learning. I'm a huge believer that you learn something when you actually do it, right? You get your hands dirty, you make mistakes, you talk about it, you go back and you fix those things, right? That's how the human brain operates. I want to make really clear right at the beginning here, there is no formal teaching in the calculus lab. You're meant to get instruction in your calculus section first, then you come to the lab, and then we reinforce those things. Now, that said, of course, you might say, hey, can we summarize this again? And I jump up at the board, or the tutor gets up there, and we work through, and we sort of do a quick refreshment of what a concept is. Certainly we can do that. Okay, what do actual assignments look like? They're all conceptual or process focused. So when we say conceptual, we might say, for example, hey, you've learned this skill, but it could apply in these several different ways that you've learned across the chapter. Let's look at kind of a big picture. And, depending on the situation, could you recognize how to go about that, right? We kind of see the whole story. Or we might draw connections between ideas. Maybe kind of another idea of something that assignments might look like are students working up at the whiteboards, right? So it turns out working at the whiteboards is super beneficial for learning, because you can kind of work and erase and see things, and other people can kind of weigh in. That leads to the next point. Almost everything in the calculus lab, the assignments are collaborative. There's a couple of exceptions to that, but just about everything is collaborative, meaning students are working together, they're working with me, they're working with a tutor, and so on. We try to make it really engaging, right? Drawing people, kind of keeping it organic for the most part, that people are collaborating in the sort of and engaging in the sort of kind of natural sort of a way, where many times you could certainly work on your own as well. One other type of assignment that would not be collaborative, um, as tests start coming around, you'll get a practice test um, that will help you sort of gauge where you are, right? When you've got your test coming up, maybe later that week or something. Turns out doing practice tests where you don't have any notes or any help or anyone else to talk to, if you do something like that beforehand, before the actual test, and you kind of feel that pressure almost, it really helps you to gauge where exactly your strengths and weaknesses are. Okay, so that's some ideas about the types of assignments. Other than that, we try and create a lot of time just for you to be able to look at your homework from your calculus section, and other assignments. So we leave space for that. And to be really clear, in the calculus lab, there are no tests, there are no quizzes, and there's no additional homework that I would assign you to do outside of our lab time. The whole point of it being a lab is that it's supporting your calculus course. You're not going to get extra homework. You get assignments, but those are all meant to be done within the lab time, and then also allow space for you to bring your own homework and other questions like that. So we're not adding more work. In fact, we're kind of even giving a space where you can complete homework, and then get some reinforcement and see big picture sort of ideas in the calculus lab. Before we start to wrap up, I should share about the administrative side of Math 150L. So know that Math 150L is a transfer level math course. It will appear in a transcript and you will receive a letter grade. What does that look like exactly? So you see the breakdown of the different categories. Concept building, those are the kind of day in and day out. Those are the main focus of the lab. Those are where we would look at concepts or processes, people be at whiteboards and collaborating and so on. There are also labs about every couple of weeks. You'll get a lab assignment that will focus on one particular topic, and I like to save those for the more challenging topics where you get to dive a little bit deeper. Finally, participation is a big part of the calculus lab, right? Being present, good attendance, and being focused on the assignments or bringing questions from your calculus section for the entire meeting period, right, every day. Finally, like, how are things graded? Like, what's going on with deadlines? You know, it's kind of interesting. Math 150L is a course in itself, yet it's meant to support another course. So how does that work? So one aspect of that is mastery grading. Mastery grading means that you don't just get one attempt at any given assignment. You can keep submitting iterations of that assignment, if you will, until you attain mastery. So if you make some work on it, and we kind of, you and I talk about it, and you still have some weak points, still have some points you're struggling with, then you wouldn't just get graded and that's it. You would get to then improve on that, make corrections and so on until you attain mastery. Also, flexible deadlines make a lot of sense in the calculus lab. Maybe you got a big assignment from your calculus course, you've got maybe a project or something, and you really need to put your attention to that. You're bringing that to the calculus lab time, and the particular concept building assignment maybe I have for the day, you'd rather kind of push back, and you'll get to that maybe at the next meeting, or maybe you don't finish a concept building in our meeting time, and you want to continue it at the next calculus lab meeting. Obviously, that's great, and that's how we're going to support your other calculus course. And just kind of tie those two things together, that you'll receive a letter grade, it's a transfer level course, and that we're using mastery grading and flexible deadlines. I can't make any promises, but I can say that if you sign up for Math 150L and you're all in, and you are coming every day and you are completing assignments, you're probably going to do quite well. You're going to get a very good letter grade, very high likelihood you'll get an A, and that's a transfer level course. It goes on your transcript as an A. So again, I can't make any promises, but I can say you'll be in a very, very good position to achieve something like that and help your transfer GPA. The last thing that I would like to share is some student feedback from this semester and students who are currently taking Math 150L. Turns out 100% of the students currently in Math 150L are passing their calculus course. That is such great news. That's amazing. That's exactly what we set out to do. Not only that, 91% said that they would take Math 150L again for a future calculus course, right? Obviously, if you're in 150, then you're going to take Math 151, and you can take the calculus lab again for that. Just a couple of quotes from the current students. So the first one is, the question was, why did you sign up for Math 150L in the beginning? And the student said, I took this class because I wasn't entirely confident in my math abilities going into calculus. And so that's wonderful. That's exactly the kind of person that we created Math 150L for, and really for everybody. I mean, just like I said at the very beginning, the leap between pre-calculus and calculus, it's a big, big jump in sophistication. And that's why this class exists, for exactly that kind of student. The last two, the question was, coming to the end of the semester, what aspects were beneficial from the lab? Getting to ask Professor Moore and our class tutor questions, and them taking the time to thoroughly explain things to me until I get it. That's really, really amazing feedback. And finally, the fact that we didn't have any homework or quizzes allowed me to work on things I was struggling with without worrying about more work. Yes, that's exactly what the lab does and how we support students.
All right, everybody, that's what I've got to share about Math 150L. All the best to you wrapping up your semester in the fall. And if you're taking a calculus course in the spring, it would be amazing to see many of you there in the calculus lab.